So, on May the 7th, Poppy on Twitter finally responded publicly to the lawsuit that Mars Argo has filed against her and Titanic Sinclair. In her statement, she did say something that I thought was fairly surprising. She did say that Mars Argo's lawsuit is totally frivolous and baseless, and that she is confident that it will be dismissed in court. That's a sign that Poppy and Titanic Sinclair are likely to file a motion to dismiss the case, which means that they're essentially going to ask the judge to throw it out. Now, the judge could throw out the case. He could throw out some of it, or he could throw out all of it. If he does, Mars Argo would have the option to appeal that decision. Now, Poppy does say that Mars Argo filed the lawsuit for publicity, and some people are kind of shocked that Poppy would say that Mars Argo is filing this lawsuit for publicity, but personally, I wasn't really that shocked that she would say that. Because when you think about it, Poppy is making the claim that the lawsuit is frivolous, and she wants to say what Mars Argo's motive would be to file a frivolous lawsuit. And there are two obvious motives that Mars Argo would have, assuming for the sake of argument that the lawsuit is actually frivolous. The first motivation would be for fame and publicity, and the second motivation would be for money. Poppy did not actually make the claim that Mars Argo is filing this lawsuit for money, and frankly, I'm kind of surprised that Poppy did not accuse Mars Argo of filing this lawsuit for both fame and publicity and for money. What did surprise me was this portion of Poppy's statement. She said, "It has been very painful to read the lawsuit Ms. Sheets filed." Ms. Sheets refers to Brittany Sheets, who of course is the real name of Mars Argo. "And to see the word abuser and my own name in the same sentence. Something very few people know is that one of the reasons I work the way I work and why I have made such efforts to conceal my identity is because I have my own history as a survivor of abuse. This legally documented trauma from my past is something I never wanted to make public because I did not want to relive it. Ms. Sheets' publicity campaign has made that impossible. I have known Ms. Sheets for years, and she is well aware of the anguish I went through. In an attempt to manipulate me psychologically, Ms. Sheets is now collaborating and maintaining an ongoing relationship with the exact man who took advantage of me when I was young and vulnerable, while at the same time naming me in a lawsuit with allegations of domestic abuse. It is shameful that Ms. Sheets would try to exploit another female artist in this way for personal gain out of nothing more than bitterness and a desperate grab for fame. Ms. Sheets' claims of stalking, harassment, and abuse directed at Mr. Mixter, and Corey Mixter is the real name of Titanic Sinclair, are preposterous projections of her own actions. My creative partner is blameless, and I am confident this case will be dismissed." What's shocking to me about this statement is that Poppy is actually claiming that not only is Mars Argo collaborating with someone who abused Poppy in the past, his name is Josh Moran, but also that she is deliberately collabing with this guy for the purpose of manipulating Poppy. Then, a few hours later, Poppy posted these documents, which show that both she and Titanic Sinclair actually filed for restraining orders against Josh Moran back on August 25th of 2015. Now, these restraining orders were not granted. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. The next thing that Poppy posted was a 2-minute video clip. The video looks like it was taken by surveillance cameras, and it shows Josh Moran apparently going over to an apartment where Titanic Sinclair is. I assume it's Titanic Sinclair's apartment, but I guess it could be an apartment that he's just staying at. And just judging by this particular video, it looks like Josh Moran viciously attacked Titanic Sinclair, and nothing in this video shows that Titanic Sinclair did anything to provoke it. Now, maybe there's more to the story. For one thing, this video doesn't have any sound, although a lot of times surveillance cameras don't have sound. But here's the video. You can judge for yourself. Now, I do think that this is real surveillance camera footage. Some people think that it's not because it is a little bit shaky, and so maybe it's handheld camera footage that's designed to look like a surveillance camera. But it actually looks like the recording was made from a monitor of a surveillance camera, and that would account for why it's a little bit shaky at times. So here we have the text that was sent to Titanic Sinclair. It's blurry, but it says, "Hey, I'm outside. I know you're in there. We have unfinished business. Come talk to me. I'm not looking for trouble, my man." Then it says, and you can see in the right corner, Corey Mixter, Titanic Sinclair, offering Moran a seat. And nothing in this video shows that Titanic Sinclair is doing anything threatening to him, but of course we don't have the sound. Then it speeds through the next 2 minutes. And then, as you can see, it looks like Moran just viciously attacks Titanic Sinclair for no apparent reason, or at least no reason that we can see from this video. As you can see, the video is dated August 17th, 2015. I'm going to assume that that date is accurate. Now, it's true that a date in a camera is not always accurate. For example, I right now have not yet set the date in my own camera, but considering that this likely is a surveillance camera, it's likely that the date actually is accurate. The video then shows Josh Moran leaving via the same van that he came in, which apparently has New Jersey license plates. So, just looking at that video, it does not look like what Josh Moran did was an act of self-defense. In order for something to be an act of self-defense, it has to be a defense against an immediate threat to your own physical safety or the physical safety of someone else. Some people think that maybe Josh Moran was getting retribution because Titanic Sinclair had punched Mars Argo previously. Well, even if that's the case, that's not legal. And I know that a lot of people sort of like the concept of vigilante justice, but a lot of times things like that can actually make the situation worse. Now, it is possible that maybe Titanic Sinclair said something to Josh Moran that was threatening and made it clear that, he or someone else close by is in immediate danger. But we don't know because there's no sound in the video. Now, I did make a previous video on this case, and so far I have not yet taken a side in this case. I'll leave a link to the previous video in the description. The reason why I'm not taking a side yet is because I don't feel that I have enough information available to take a side. There could be a lot of things about this case that come up that are something of a surprise. I think that this whole situation with Josh Moran is something of a surprise. I wouldn't be surprised if Poppy or Titanic Sinclair make the claim that Josh Moran has been an ongoing threat to them, and that maybe Mars Argo even sent Josh Moran to abuse them. And part of the reason why I think that's possible is because Poppy did claim in her statement that the reason Mars Argo is collaborating right now with Josh Moran is because he is an abuser of Poppy, and he is a good person for Mars Argo to use to manipulate and intimidate Poppy and perhaps Titanic Sinclair. Now, Josh Moran did release this statement in response to Poppy's statement, saying that Poppy's statement is all a lie and that the restraining order request made by Titanic Sinclair and Poppy were dismissed and denied because there was no truth to them. Now, we know that this is actually not the reason why Poppy's request for a restraining order was dismissed. The reason why Poppy's request for a restraining order was dismissed was because of failure to prosecute. That meant that she or her lawyer, if she was being represented by one, failed to show up at the hearing, and therefore she did not get the request for a restraining order granted. Now, it could be that the restraining order request by Titanic Sinclair was denied because of a lack of evidence, But the thing is, a lot of people think that restraining orders are a lot easier to get than they actually are. You usually have to convince the court that not only is it reasonable for you to be fearful that the person is going to attack you, but that the threat is ongoing. In other words, if the person attacked you in the past but is no longer a threat to you, the courts will usually not grant you a restraining order. The other thing is, sometimes courts can be biased against men who are seeking restraining orders. 72% of restraining orders, or orders of protection, are granted to women, even though the majority of the victims of violent crime are men. It's just that sometimes courts can be biased against men seeking restraining orders, thinking that they don't really need them, in the same way that sometimes courts can be biased against men who are seeking custody over their own children. Now, again, I don't know if that's the reason why Titanic Sinclair's restraining order was denied. The thing is, there's just too many unanswered questions, it seems, right now in this case, for me to take a side. It seems like there could be a lot more than meets the eye to this case. Now, Josh Moran has said in this statement that this whole thing about him is just a distraction, and indeed, some people have said that this is irrelevant, because even if it's true that Josh Moran did abuse Poppy or Titanic Sinclair, that doesn't mean that Titanic Sinclair did not abuse Mars Argo. But like I said before, it would make the situation a lot stickier if it turned out that Mars Argo had actually sent Josh Moran to attack Poppy or Titanic Sinclair. And again, I'm not making the claim that that's what happened. I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if that's what Poppy or Titanic Sinclair claim in the future. Also, in this statement, Josh Moran did not explain why you can see him attacking Titanic Sinclair in the video. He did not say that it was self-defense or anything like that. And who knows, this whole thing could end up being more relevant to the case as more information comes out. It's also possible that if Poppy or Titanic Sinclair end up filing a countersuit, that Josh Moran could be named as one of the defendants. It seems like there is just quite a lot of information that we don't have yet about this case. It's also possible that there will be more surprises, perhaps even bigger than this one, that come up in the future. So go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel, click the bell icon for notifications, and together we shall take over the world. I upload 5 videos a month. You can also follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat at Zorkbid123, and I broadcast live on Younow and Twitch at Zorkbid123.